Let me teach you how you can charge more than $2,000 per month for just bookkeeping services. My name is Zach Pasquarello. I have been running my own bookkeeping business for the past 4 years. I have over 60 bookkeeping clients. I'm making more than $30,000 per month just in recurring revenue from my bookkeeping clients. I make these videos just because I'm passionate about my bookkeeping business. I love talking about bookkeeping, and I love teaching you how you can start and grow your own bookkeeping business the exact same way that I did. Let me start by saying I don't have a niche, at least not a niche in the traditional sense. You can have a niche in the industry that you work with. Maybe you only do bookkeeping for trucking companies or real estate investors or restaurants. But I have a niche in the software that I use and the services that I provide. This enables me to be an expert at bookkeeping and QuickBooks Online. I am so fast and so good at bookkeeping. I only do bookkeeping. I don't do payroll. I don't do taxes. I don't do CFO services. I only offer bookkeeping services, but I'm still able to charge more than $2,000 per month because I go a little bit above and beyond traditional bookkeeping services. I'm going to get to that in a few minutes, but first let me lay the foundation for the actual services that I provide. My basic package, just bookkeeping, and I only work with QuickBooks Online. So I have a niche in the services that I provide and the software that I use, and this enables me to truly be a QuickBooks Online expert. I can do everything so fast, so efficiently in QuickBooks, and that helps me process a large volume of work, which means I can make a lot of money. So my basic services are just bookkeeping with QuickBooks Online. That means I categorize your transactions, I reconcile your accounts, and I generate financial reports. I do everything inside of QuickBooks Online. I don't work with any other software. I don't provide any other services. I categorize your transaction, money coming in, money going out, income, expenses, assets, liabilities. I reconcile your accounts every month. So I need your bank statements and your credit card statements and your loan statements every month just to make sure everything in QuickBooks, penny for penny, exactly accurate. And then I generate your financial reports. That's the whole point of bookkeeping. I will send you your profit and loss on a monthly basis. I'll manage your balance sheet. And then at the end of the year, your profit and loss, balance sheet, all accurate, all updated, ready to go for your tax accountant so that you can be super hands off with your bookkeeping and tax process. Now, let's talk about how I take it a step further, how you can charge $2,000 or more for bookkeeping services. I call this cash management. I manage clients' accounts payable and accounts receivable. This really goes in line, hand in hand with bookkeeping services, but it's far beyond traditional bookkeeping services. What I just described, categorizing transactions, I'm only looking at transactions that have already occurred. So you take your debit card, you go to Home Depot, or you go to the bank and deposit a check. That's money going out in expense, money coming in, income, but it's already happened. With cash management services, I'm looking at money that hasn't moved yet. I'm looking at transactions that haven't occurred yet. So specifically, let me break it down how I do it and how I charge for it. Accounts payable and accounts receivable, they're pretty similar, but they do have a couple differences. Let's start with accounts payable. So I am actually paying bills for my clients. I'm not using my own money, obviously. I'm using their money to pay their bills. So the process is pretty straightforward. They need to tell me somehow, they need to communicate with me the bills that need to be paid. So this does require some work from the business owner or the office manager or the project manager. Somebody on their team needs to tell me what bills need to be paid so that I can manage their accounts payable. This happens a couple different ways. The client can set up a Google Drive or a Dropbox or a Microsoft OneDrive or some type of cloud, and then they can give me access to that Google Drive, and then they can have a couple folders. They could have bills waiting to be approved for payment, bills approved for payment, bills that need to be paid, accounts payable, whatever you want to call it. The client needs to tell me these bills are okay to be paid. So they can set up a Google Drive and give me access to it, or they can just email me. They can send me emails in real time. Hey, pay this bill. Hey, pay that bill. That strategy works okay if there are few bills, but as soon as there become more than 3 or 4 bills per week, it can be a little bit difficult to send individual emails on a daily basis. So if there are more than 4 or 5 bills per week, I recommend set up a Google Drive or a Dropbox, shared access between the bookkeeper and the business owner, and then develop a system for just somebody on their team telling you as the bookkeeper which bills need to be paid. But if it's only a couple bills per week, like I said, emails work fine. Once I get the bills that need to be paid, I enter them into QuickBooks Online. And then every week, I will run an accounts payable aging detail report. So I'm entering the bills in real time, and then I will look to see which bills are due in the next 7 days, and then I will pay all of those bills. Now, how do I pay bills? I don't have a checkbook for my client. Like I said, I'm not actually using my own money. I'm using the client's money to pay their bills. And I don't really work with any other software. So I'm not working with bill.com, or I'm not using other accounts payable management software. I'm also not using QuickBooks Online because they charge $10 every month per contractor. That's incredibly expensive. I actually use my clients' business checking accounts to pay their bills. Most business checking accounts have either cash management, treasury management, or bill pay, or some combination. That's actually where I got the name of these services, cash management, because that's usually what these business checking accounts call them in their online banking system: cash management, treasury management, bill pay. Basically, I can pay these people, these vendors, contractors, subcontractors, I can pay them straight from my client's business checking account. Now, I need my own access. I need a username, I need a password so that I can access my client's bank accounts. And then we've already gone through an approval process. So the client already tells me, hey, these bills are good to be paid. So I enter them into the business checking account online, treasury management, cash management system, and then I can actually pay these people ACH direct deposit. Now we can take it a step further with two-factor authorization. So I can generate the report inside the business checking account, and then the client, the business owner, the office manager, the project manager can actually go in and approve the payments that I have submitted. That way we can double check the work, we have internal controls, and there's no chance of any mistakes happening because I enter the information and somebody else approves the information. Now that only works if you have their ACH direct deposit information. So you need the payee and the vendor's account number and routing number. That's not always an option. So we can also electronically mail checks. And that's usually an option with most business checking accounts. All we need to know is the address of the payee. So I can actually electronically mail checks straight from my business checking account to my vendors and contractors. It's a little bit more expensive. It usually costs about 70 cents per check. But if you think about it, with a stamp and an envelope, printing the checks, it's money well worth it because you're going to spend at least 70 cents and so much more time physically mailing these checks. ACH direct deposit is usually like 5 to 10 cents per transaction. So cheap, so easy, and it happens next day. So today, if I process an ACH payment at 3 p.m., it'll arrive in the vendor's bank account the next day. Okay, so that's how I manage accounts payable. And the way I price it, I don't have an exact model. I do know that right now I have a couple clients who have about 100 accounts payable per month, and I charge them $500 per month. So there's not an exact science because I don't have a lot of clients who I do this for, but it is a lot of work. It does require that I'm very hands-on with these clients. There's a lot of responsibility involved with paying these bills, keeping up with it, making sure everything goes out on time. So this is a more advanced service. So I do charge $500 for 100 bills, and then it would obviously go down or go up depending on the number of bills that need to be paid on a weekly or monthly basis. But I think about $5 per bill that needs to be paid is probably a good starting point. Okay, now let's talk about accounts receivable. It's a very similar process, but it's the exact opposite. Instead of paying people, now we are sending invoices to customers and clients, and this is much easier. But it's very, very important. So many business owners struggle to manage their accounts receivable. So us as bookkeepers, we can come in and we can offer to handle your client's accounts receivable. That way they can be confident that everybody is paying on time. And if they're not paying on time, we can follow up with them. I use QuickBooks Online to manage all of my clients' accounts receivable, and I also use QuickBooks Online as a payment processor. QuickBooks Online charges 1% for ACH transfers and 3% for credit card transfers, which is usually pretty consistent across the industry. So the process is pretty similar. If an invoice needs to be created, my clients will email me, hey Zach, please create an invoice. I just need to know basic information: the customer's name, the date of the invoice, the terms, net 30, net 15, due on receipt, a description for the invoice, and the amount. And then I also need to know the email address for the customer. If it's a new customer, tell me the email address. If it's a pre-existing customer, I should already have their email address in the system. That's it. That's the only information I need. And then I can email the invoice directly to the customer or the client straight from the QuickBooks account. And then the client can pay the invoice through their email electronically, bank transfer, credit card. And then finally, in QuickBooks, you can set up automatic reminders. So 3 days after the due date, 7 days after the due date, 30 days after the due date, QuickBooks will automatically send emails straight to the client saying, hey, reminder, this invoice is due. Please submit payment at your earliest convenience. And then finally, we can run an accounts receivable aging report from QuickBooks. You can even set it up on an automatic email. So every Friday, an accounts receivable aging report can get emailed straight to your client, straight from QuickBooks, so they can see which invoices are 30 days overdue, 60 days overdue, which invoices are current. You might need to take it a step further and reach out directly to the client or the customer if they haven't paid their invoice in 30 days. But QuickBooks makes it so simple to manage accounts receivable. You can do it for your clients. I have one client who I send about 15 invoices per month, and I charge them an additional $200. So invoices do require a little bit more work than bills. Actually, maybe not. They might be pretty similar. I don't have an exact pricing structure set up for quoting and pricing accounts receivable and accounts payable. $500 for 100 accounts payable per month seems to be a pretty good starting point. 10 or so invoices per month for $100 seems to be a good price point. And then you can just multiply it by that. If they have 50 invoices per month, maybe charge them $500, something like that. But I hope this video was helpful. I hope it gives you a different perspective on some additional bookkeeping services that you can provide. That way you can charge more than $2,000 per month for some of your larger bookkeeping clients.